Hi, everybody. Welcome to Writing for Media. And this video I'm actually recording on Tuesday, which is for release on Wednesday. Anyway, I guess we're doing asynchronous. And this actually will be essentially my third and a half semester in a row now of teaching an asynchronous Writing for Media class. It's worked out. We've done okay with it. Obviously, it's not ideal because you'd rather be like looking over somebody's shoulder and making sure that they're actually like you can actually teach them directly and teach them how to write a story, which is what this class is about. But this is what we're gonna have to do. Hopefully, like we can get this virus under control, relatively soon, and we can return to some sense of normality. But this is what we're going to be doing. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to spend much of this class session talking about just what's really required for this class, general overview, and there is actually an assignment that I'll be due on Monday. It's actually not graded, but I will get to that. All right. So anyway, Writing for Media. What is Writing for Media? I actually really enjoy teaching Writing for Media because Writing for Media is essentially the class where you're supposed to learn how to write a news story. A news story is, very much different from, well, I should say it's different from what you've been doing probably most of your lives, which is you've been essentially been writing some form of what we call essay writing. And I assume some of you or all of you have had some sort of expository writing of some sort. So you're taught to basically learn things like hypothesis, topic, sentence, body, conclusion. Well, in this class, we actually teach the news writing form of writing, which is very much, it's not too dissimilar from that, but is all about what your first paragraph says. Not just your headline, but what the first thing is that a reader needs to know. And I like to say that actually it's almost like an upside down form of writing where you essentially, the conclusion you're typically writing in your essay stories for your previous classes, high school, etc., is now actually your lead. You make essentially your conclusion in an objective way in your lead, which is your first paragraph. And then the rest of the story essentially deconstructs what the story is about, okay? What I like to do in this class is I actually like to some find it maybe maddeningly boring away like some of the topics we choose because we don't go out right away and do the investigative pieces, which actually are really for other classes. This class is just really just the basics, okay? And I gotta tell you, the basics is what helped me when I went to Rutgers University between the years of 1985 and 1989. In fact, it was actually a grammar class that actually helped me more than anything. Just basically getting those fundamentals, even if you've had like the greatest journalism program in your high school before, you've had maybe you work for the greatest newspaper on the planet, it always helps to have some sort of refresher, okay? All right. First of all, who am I? I'm Tom Davis. My life has changed a bit in recent months. I was the New Jersey editor of Patch.com for a number of years. I worked at Patch for 11 years. I have since been promoted, to a new position in a new company. I'm the managing editor of Best Review, which actually is an insurance trade publication, but we do write about news. We still do news. Just now that I'm actually putting together a magazine, which is great. I'm really enjoying this job. There is hope in journalism. Don't believe what they say. All right. So anyway, this is something I've been doing for 31 years. I actually, if you want to count, like I was actually doing a lot of this stuff actually when I was in high school and beyond. I actually started writing when I was 16 at a local paper in Point Pleasant Beach, New Jersey. I grew up in Point Pleasant Borough. Then I was like, I was the editor of my high school paper. I was the senior news editor of the Targum. There you go. And from there, essentially it kind of worked from the ground up. Essentially went from, working at like small weeklies, dailies, eventually built my career up to the point where I got to work for the Press of Atlantic City, the Record of Bergen County. It's actually September 11th is coming up. So I was actually at Ground Zero terrorist attacks on September 12th. I was actually on September 11th. I was actually outside covering a lot of things that were going on. I was actually in Jersey City and Bayonne. I was seeing a lot of the smoke come over. I saw one of the towers fall, which is still embedded in my memory deeply and profoundly. So anyway, from there it was, then we actually started this local news service called Patch. I started working there in 2010. Ran the New Jersey operations there. I felt like we kind of built it up to a point where we actually could rival places like NJ.com, places like that. So yeah, and now here I am at Best Review. So I'm trying to basically, I always like to say though that, even I've got the degree at Columbia, the master's degree and all that stuff and all that la-di-da, right? But I always felt like I got my master's really in the School of Hard Knocks. Some of my best teachers were other reporters. Some of my best teachers were friends. Some of my best teachers were just readers, so it's not always like necessarily like what you learn within the so-called walls of a classroom that matter. It's the stuff that you learn outside of it. And that's what I try to do in this class is have you, even though we're kind of limited in what we can do, and I realize that social contact is still kind of a bit limited. It was really difficult when the pandemic first started, but I try to give people as much practical experience as possible. And that is basically going out, interviewing people and talking to people and, writing about things that are actually happening on campus and stuff like that and writing about people. Okay. And that is the practical experience that I think is the best kind of experience you can have. So there are lectures in this class, obviously. There's also a book and, we do readings from the book, but at the same time, it's all about really just like learning as we go, learning on the ground, learning as you do. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the syllabus. Okay. Actually, out of order. Let's talk about there is actually a Canvas site for our class. And this is something I'm going to do often is I'm going to share the screen. Okay. And of course, I hope you can see everything, but there is the Canvas site and you should be connected and plug into this. We're going to use this a lot. I have actually, I'm actually using this a lot more often than I used to. I used to be kind of like, I don't need this, but I do. So anyway, this basically provides a lot of the stuff you see on the syllabus, but this will largely provide a guide for you as we go along. The type of topics we're going to be looking at each week. Basically, and also obviously your assignments are going to be listed here. Okay. And we probably will use the discussion board at times. Okay. And of course, actually, if you want to contact me, as it says here, there's two ways you can contact me. You could contact me again through the inboxes, of the email system on Canvas, or you could just actually write to me directly on my Rutgers email. Okay. And I also do actually, and that's actually on the syllabus, which I'll show in a bit, but if you really need to get a hold of me, I also do have obviously a cell phone. So you can text me or whatever. All right. But as it says here, the Writformedia is an introductory course offered by the Department of Journalism. In this course, students will develop a strong foundation in writing for diverse forms of media. Okay. And as it says here, this is again, email address, semester, that we are asynchronous, which means that I'm not actually allowed to schedule a session with you at a certain time. I have to just post it. My plan actually, unless that's not even a plan, it's what's going to be. This is the only time I'm actually going to post a lecture on a Wednesday. I'm going to be posting weekly lectures, okay, and they will be on Mondays, except for today, meaning Wednesday, and also because of Labor Day coming up, I'll be posting on Tuesday next week. Okay, so all right, see what happens on Thanksgiving. All right. Office hours, that's the one time where I'm allowed to actually meet with you directly. I typically try to hold office hours usually like on Thursday nights. It just seems to work out best that way. Just let me know if you need to talk to me and like we can Zoom. All right. And these lectures, by the way, what I typically do is, I know it's not everybody's favorite, but I typically post them on YouTube. Okay. and I make them publicly available, and I let you know through the email system and also through Canvas when they're posted. Okay. All right. And obviously, like, I'll be talking, it's very important that you watch these because I'll be talking about assignments. I'll be talking obviously about teaching you how to write a story and things like that. I've had issues with this in the past year and a half where people haven't been watching them, you know, so, and then I'll say to them, well, didn't you catch this on the lecture? And I'll be like, I don't know. So, all right. And then, of course, these are the books. The Associated Press Style Guide, obviously, that's a very important one. That essentially provides you a guide. It's almost like it's kind of like a dictionary, but beyond that, what it does is it provides you a guide on how things should be phrased, how things can be identified. It kind of goes, it's kind of an extension of the dictionary, and it's done to provide some sort of universal language for journalism. Okay. Journalism is a very simplistic form of writing. The idea here with journalism is that it's supposed to actually be the simplest form of reading. Okay. It's supposed to be the universal access reading. It's supposed to be the reading that, if you all done like current event projects or assignments or something, usually you do them like as early as like 4th grade. That's the idea, is that, and it's not an insult, but journalism is supposed to be written on a 4th grade level. And it's not necessarily, what it means is basically is that it's supposed to be written for everybody of all intelligence levels, everybody of all ages, etc. You know, diversity, this whole thing. It is the most popular form of literary. It is a form of literary writing. It's just that it's, you know, it's not a book, you know, and yes, there are some newspapers like the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal that actually shoot for a higher grade, you know, like maybe a 7th grade level education or something, but we try to write in a way that everybody can understand, which is why, like, you'll see me during a semester, like, come down a bit like, you know, big 7-letter SAT words, not necessary. Okay. You have to write in a way that everybody can understand. Okay. All right. So what the Associated Press Style Guide does, it also, the great thing about journalism is it provides a consistency. So what you're reading in New Jersey will essentially be written the same way, you know, when maybe a certain different creative styles are different or something, it'll be similar at least to what's written in North Dakota or Hawaii or whatever, or even other countries. So, all right. Our main book now, one important thing is that my form of teaching Writformedia is probably a little bit more relaxed than other places, I'll tell you. Okay. So my big thing is really just emphasizing the written assignments. Okay. I don't give quizzes. I used to. I find them almost pointless. I mean, basically my thing is that I just want to make sure that you've got the writing down. And then things that you should know, like getting like facts straight, like states rights, state name rights, stuff like that. Names of people right, things like that. You know, you should have that as part of your story. Okay. I don't need to quiz you on American history or anything like that. And actually, that's another thing the Associated Press Style Guide does, is that one of the things it does is it tells you how to write, or how, for instance, if you're going to like identify the rank of a police officer, or how should you do that? Is it SGT period before the name? Stuff like that. So, you know, that's what that does. This book will just provide you, again, this writing reporting for the media will provide you a guide, an overlay of what I'll be teaching you. Okay. Now, look, again, I don't provide a test on that either, because again, your writing is actually your test. Okay. Your stories are your tests. Okay. And I'll be able to tell this book is actually supposed to supplement what I teach in this class. Okay. I'll be able to tell if you haven't been reading a book by just reading your assignments. Okay. I'll be able to tell if you haven't been watching the lectures just by reading your assignments. Okay. That's all I need. That's the only test I need. Okay. All right. So that's the cover page, but let's go to the syllabus. Okay. All right. Which essentially, kind of speaking of overlay, kind of does that itself. Okay. So again, I'll be sending everybody an email. Again, I'm taping this on Tuesday, so I'll be sending everybody an email on Wednesday about where to look for this lecture, and also I'll attach the syllabus, but it's also on the Canvas site. Okay. But here we go. Okay. So let's go over it anyway. And I have the wrong one up. Isn't that funny? I'm hilarious. I have the other class up. There we go. All right, Tom. All right. So Rutgers University School of Communication, fall 2021 syllabus, writing for media. It says here, fall canvas, updates to be published by 9 a.m. on Monday. See exceptions below, which I talk about already. I've already voiced them. Some of the stuff you've seen already, Tom Davis, email, okay, office hours upon request, okay. So just kind of like really kind of going over some of the stuff here. Catalog description. So basically, there's the fundamentals of writing across all media platforms. So, some of the things you may be doing like beyond this class, you might be going to like TV or just web writing specifically, maybe even tech writing, but they all have the same foundation. They all have certain similarities. They all have the same core, and that is writing in a way that like everybody can understand, writing in a simplistic format, and writing a way that is actually updated to the time, okay, to the minute, okay, as they say, 24/7. News, the plural of new, sorry, news is the plural of new. So what we do in this class, we write about what's new. Now, sometimes it's not necessarily like what's new right now or what's new yesterday, but what's new and unique to your readership, okay? Maybe there's something that happened a while ago that maybe nobody ever knew about, okay? So you make that big disclosure, okay? Maybe you're writing a profile. This is a big thing I do with, I have people write profiles on each other, all right? Or I have people, write profiles on people they want, they know, okay? It's very basic, fundamental assignment. I'll talk about that in a bit. So anyway, that'll actually be another assignment we'll do very soon. But anyway, the whole idea is that like, what is interesting and unique about that person that somebody didn't know, okay? So that's what essentially is what's new, and that's what we try to emphasize in this class, okay? So again, this is an intermediate level course. It's meant to build a journalism skill set from the ground up. You're going to learn some grammar and everything, but I mean, a lot of that stuff you really should know already. I realize that the school systems can be left to be desired. So, we do the best what we can, but I don't actually try to teach writing from the ground up. I try to teach news writing from the ground up. Okay. So I also realize that a lot of people haven't been through news writing before. It's something that actually really should be taught in every high school. So for a lot of you, it's going to be like really learning this for the first time, which is fine. Okay. It's also a big reason why I'll talk about this. I actually count the last assignments in this class more than the first assignments, because what matters to me is your progress. Okay. Not the first thing you write, but the last things you write. Okay. Basically going from point A to point Z. I want to care about point Z. I want to see where you are at the end of the semester, and that really determines your final grade. Okay. All right. There's no prerequisites for this class, although I guess debatably there is actually some class from understand that you guys have to take or something. I don't know, but take that for what you want. Again, course learning objectives: identify and analyze characteristics and styles of various forms of media writing, print-based and general or digital, and critically evaluate, research, write, and edit content for diverse forms. Again, the whole idea here is that even though they're different, they're maybe presented in different ways, they all have that kind of same core consistency in the way things are written. Okay. Did you know, for instance, that most news stories only have the paragraphs are usually no more than a sentence or two long, okay? And that's because news writing is written in a conversational style, which I'll get to in a bit, but it's actually meant to be essentially reflect the kind of conversation you would have with somebody on the street or in your dorm room or in your house or whatever. It's not supposed to be like, what you might see like, okay, I'm here in the well, interviewing the man who fell in, and, give me your, give me your synopsis and how it happened. It isn't always like that. Sometimes it's just a matter of just like having it's reflective of like a passive conversation you might have with somebody, and you're just finding out something interesting and reporting it. That's all to everybody else, like much like you would with gossip. Okay. Okay. So write clearly and accurately with focus, energy, voice, and for specific audiences. Okay. Well, your readership in this class is largely going to be what you would do. Like, I try to tell people that like you always have to be conscious of your audience when you're writing, and your audience, I'd say for almost all these assignments, is probably going to be essentially other students. Okay, we're going to try to really like emphasize. It's really important to write about where you live. Okay, and how things impact where you live. I mean, that's why like so much of that's happened like in elsewhere doesn't interest us people as much as like what affects them directly. That's why like COVID is still such an important news topic. Okay. And you see these, and as horrible as and tragic as what's happened in Afghanistan recently, you still, see that, at least according to certain surveys, is not necessarily the, the most important thing that's on readers' minds, unfortunately, but that's just the way it is. Okay. All right. Okay, so as I said here, don't buy the workbook, okay? You're going to get writing and reporting for the media, okay? By the way, I suggest just getting that off Amazon, okay? I know I shouldn't be encouraging Amazon, right? But the 12th edition, okay? But it's cheap. It should be cheaper on there, okay? All right, so students should be prepared to participate. So what does that mean when you're in an asynchronous class? Okay, well, I mean, obviously I can't take hands. I can't look for hands in the audience like I can in a classroom, but I can, I care about things like, are you asking questions? Are you like wanting to know what's heard? Or if I have it, and sometimes what I do is I do a little bit of a test in this regard. I might like open up a discussion point, that like maybe related to an assignment we're doing. Okay. And I want you to participate in that. Okay. And actually what I'll do is I'll use a discussion point, especially if we're doing a story that involves students. I'll use the discussion component of the Canvas site as a way to get people to talk about these subjects, and you can use that information for your stories. Like if you're interviewing people about, let's say, the food at Rutgers, for instance, I would have, people essentially, I would open up a discussion point about that and have people contribute to the discussion point. So I care about things like that. Just, I want to know that you're there. So I want to see some signs that you're there, because it's very difficult in an asynchronous class to get people to do that. Okay. Just to let me know that they're there. Okay. So yeah, I even count in throwing things like getting assignments in on time, even though that's such an assignment grade, but making sure that you're actually like participating in things, engaging with me, questions, suggestions, maybe office hours, that sort of thing. That's 30% of your grade. I expect everybody to get an A in that, okay? Expect everybody to get an A. I don't have necessarily high standards for that, but I just have a standard, and just know that I want to know that you're there, okay? And then, yeah, the rest of it is 70%, key writing assignments, 7, okay? That includes a major assignment that's actually required for this class, which we'll talk about later in the semester, but that'll essentially something that we introduce halfway through the semester, and then you have to finish. It's like almost like a project-oriented assignment that you actually will finish as your last assignment, okay? But anyway, so I give out 7 overall. Okay, 5th and 6th assignments will count twice as much as the first 4. Now, this is a little bit of like, me, it's a little bit confusing to explain, but just think of it this way, okay? Assignments 1, 2, 3, 4 count once, okay? Assignments 5 and 6 count twice as much as those previous 4, okay? When I actually do the final grading. And then that final assignment will count 4 times, okay? As much as those first 4 assignments, okay? All right. Again, the assignments will be announced on Canvas, but I'll also talk about them in these lectures. And then, yes, of course, there's reading assignments, not graded directly, but they'll be assessed on your writing performance, okay? All right. And, a lot of times these assignments, so the reading assignments are actually given out already. They're already on Canvas too. Actually, if you check out your assignments on Canvas, they're already there. And as you can see, I already have, it's already on here too, but if I go down here at the bottom, oh my God, I'm sorry. I never actually changed the dates on this. That's bad. I apologize for that. Oh, that's horrible. Well, ignore that. I will have that corrected by tomorrow, by the time I post this. So that's funny. Anyway, so let's go to the assignments page here. Actually, that's where actually the dates are for real. And as you can see, the first, I actually have a reading assignment that's actually due chapters 1 and 2 of the book, which I actually share the screen, actually go over on this class. Okay, we'll talk about that in our lecture that'll be posted. Again, we have Labor Day coming up, so the lecture will be posted on on Tuesday. So I'll talk about chapters 1 and 2 on Tuesday, but I expect actually people to actually start to read that by then. Okay. And then you'll see September 13th, September 20th, and on. Okay. Going on and on. All right. And again, I'll fix the syllabus that's on Canvas already. That's the one I'm showing you right now. Apologize again for that. All right. So, all right. Any questions? Just kidding. That's anyway. So, I kind of, people will ask me, what about the rubric? What about the rubric? So, basically, what I go for here essentially, it says an A grade will be awarded to an assignment that fulfills in terms of the assignment, it shows a lot of original, creative, and analytical thought. I want something that actually looks publishable. Okay, something not necessarily something that's in the New York Times, but something that actually could go, it could go in like my old publication, Patch, or a local paper, or the Targum, or something like that. Something that basically everybody can read. Okay, something everybody can read from top to bottom. Okay, now I don't necessarily like to go over the grade scale like specifically right away, because I want you to actually get a graded assignment first, which we'll get very soon. First, you'll have this ungraded assignment, so we'll be talking about that. Okay, but what I do is provide essentially a general overview. B plus B, basically like B plus B grade. Actually, let me change this one too. Sorry about that. So, basically some evidence of, basically it's not quite A, but maybe like there's some things that need to be edited, maybe even a little bit of like organizational issues that need to be tended to. Okay, C plus is passing, but it's at the same time, there's actually that to me is like organizational, meaning that the story isn't a structure like it should be, but it's something that basically at least like it's editable and something I can understand. But again, I think right now that's going to confuse a lot of people getting into the nitty gritty of that. So we'll talk about that. But one thing I will say to you is that actually I do not, on the first assignment, we actually have rewrites in this class. Okay, and that's actually probably the most important part of this class. It's the part where you actually learn how to write, because you're going to see like my editing, and you're going to see me actually act as an editor for you, and you're going to be the reporter, and I'm going to basically edit the story, and I do it online. I'm sorry, I do it on Microsoft Word, which is the form of homework delivery platform I expect you to deliver your assignments in too. Okay, and I mark it with red and the whole thing. And basically, what you do is you rewrite the story, and you can actually rewrite it. I'll get into this, but you can actually rewrite any story unless you get an A, obviously. You can rewrite for a higher grade, so that's important. Unless you actually do get an R. What I do is on the very first draft of your assignment, I do not give out a D or an F. I just feel like that's basically the same grade. So what I do is I give an R. That's where you basically are required to rewrite it. If you don't rewrite it, you get an F. Okay. All right. So, and that's where I feel like the story is just not editable. I feel like that basically, it's really very important for you to go back and read it. Okay. Again, we'll get into that nitty gritty, as time goes along. Okay. So again, obviously participation is mandatory. Okay. You should watch the lectures. Obviously, it's very important. The sooner you form the structure, if you have any kind of issues or something, the better. I realize I may have had to deal with all sorts of different issues, people getting sick and the whole thing over the last year and a half, and that's what happens. I don't know, I'll tell you about that. All right, so obviously religious observances, let me know if you have any need to miss time or whatever, not able to watch or whatever. Okay, so I just told you a little bit of the grading issues, but there are some hardcore issues that don't necessarily need we don't need to wait to talk about. Okay, and that is if there's anything that's important in journalism, is actually submitting things on time. We live in a 24/7 world, and if you're late, that's bad. Okay, if you miss a story by the seconds, that's bad. That means that people are going to basically, when they do some sort of a Google search and they want to know what's going on, and you're covering a big story or something, and you're like 10 seconds late and somebody else beats you, Google is going to rank that other story that beat you first, and then everybody's going to go read that story before yours. So all that advertising on your story and everything, it's going to be missed, and your editors are going to be pissed. Okay, so you need to submit stories on time. I do present some leeway here. And that is first drafts will not be accepted more than 24 hours after the deadline. However, anything submitted within that 24-hour period will receive a lower grade, 1 grade lower, basically. Okay, meaning that an A will be a B, a B will be a C, et cetera, and on. Okay, all right. Obviously, there's a grade appeals situation here, like we have in every class. All right. Okay, so now this is something again I have on Canvas. I actually have essentially like, I mean, this could actually, sometimes I deviate a bit depending on like how things are going. That you know, sometimes things got to work in flux because based on how we're grading, how we're progressing as a class. Sometimes we progress slowly, and that has been a bit of an issue since we've gone asynchronous. So I don't know what to tell you about that, but you know, sometimes I might actually change some of these. Okay, but they're also coordinated and connected to also the readings. Okay, the course introduction, writing basics. You can see we deal with the very basics. I like to say that the first half of the semester, we deal much with the writing end of things, okay? And I really make sure that you actually have your writing down. You understand news structure, okay? That you understand like what the importance of a lead, which is the first paragraph, and basically identifying in your very first paragraph, answering this question, what is the story about, okay? So I try to make sure of that, okay? Then as we get into like the second half of the semester, we get more into the reporting end of things. That means basically asking the right questions, getting enough information, that sort of thing. Okay. So, you know, we deal with like more complex things back then, like data journalism, public relations, things like that. Okay. And by the way, going back to Canvas, again, this is, you go under modules, okay, you will actually see that these are there. Okay. And you will see the actual writing assignments are also there. And actually, look at this. I actually have a news writing instructional video that I use for every class that I you know, because sometimes I have people who don't get it right away. So I provide a very basic, generic instructional video on what needs to be done when you actually write a news story. If you want to go ahead and look at that now, feel free, but here it is, as you can see. You click on it right there, and there it is. Okay. And there I am in a wintertime. Hey, everybody. Okay, with my sweatshirt on. Okay, with different glasses on. Okay. All right. But we go over some of the basics here. Course introduction. As you can see, sometimes I have a fancy photograph. Sometimes my photographs have failed, but you know, it just basically provides essentially like what we're going to be doing that week. Okay. The writing basics. Writing basics, I actually provide some actually pictures of like what you're supposed to be looking for. I try to show people like what not to do, like what they used to do in the old days. Look at this. There's actually a story on a Titanic, which is awful. And then I compare it to the moon landing, which was done very well. Okay. And I provide some basic structure for what you're supposed to be looking for in terms of story structure. Okay. Lead is, that's weird spelling for lead, isn't it? That's how we use it in this, like our news jargon. That's what we use in journalism. We actually spell it that way most of the time. And this, a lead is what identifies what the story is about and why I should care about the rest of, why I should care about the rest of the story. Will then answer more specific questions that get into answer these questions: who, what, where, why, how, when. Okay. And then it breaks into essentially graphs that say transition, anecdote, quote, transition, anecdote, quote. We'll talk about that as the semester goes along. But look at this, by the way. This, I know this is 1969, but it's the same today. You can see the paragraphs are very short. Okay. There's space in between the paragraphs. That's because it resembles a conversation. Okay. It gives people a chance to breathe. Okay. And it's very much like how you would talk in a conversation. You pause often between sentence in a conversation. Am I right? So, you know, that's very much how a news story works, is that there's pauses as you move along, and it's meant to give people some sort of a break, so some sort of a rhythm and actually reading as you would speak, you know. So, all right. So let's get back to the syllabus. All right. Yeah, obviously then I have some words on plagiarism. Don't do it. And again, you know, some more about me in here. And that's it. Okay, so that's basically the introduction to the class. And let's see here. All right, so I do have a first assignment, as I said. It's not graded, but the whole idea with this assignment is that I don't want you to do this with too much to know. I want to know, my objective with this assignment is to actually get an idea where you are right now. This actually helps me teach this class, okay? Now, this is not the student view, this is my view, okay? So, and I actually have published this already. I published this on Tuesday, okay? But, and it's very short, my explanation here, but all I'm asking for, and again, not graded, I want to get an idea like where you're at in terms of your writing, if you've done any at all. If you haven't done any kind of news writing at all, that's fine. I just kind of want to get an idea. And what I do is I give you some feedback on what to do, some feedback, okay, on what to look for. Maybe one of the two things I look for essentially is this, and this is like, I try to give you, or I should say, things I try to feedback I give is I try to tell you like what I think is actually the unique element of the story and what you should have led with in the top of the story, what you should have themed with, okay? And I also try to give you an idea, like, you know, in terms of structure, like, are your paragraphs too long, things like that. Some of the very, very basic things, that's the feedback I provide. But what I do is I try to also, it gives me feedback because it gives me an idea like where you're at. If you've got any kind of experience in news writing at all, and I usually kind of adjust my own teaching to that. And I've had some years where people have done, you know, almost the entire class has done no news writing at all. So then I go more slowly in pace, okay? So what I want you to do, and I know this is going to be a little weird and a little complicated, but I want you guys to do this is going to be weird, okay? You're going to write a story about yourselves, but it's going to be very short, okay? I'm asking you to write a short 5-paragraph profile on yourself. Now, remember what I said about paragraphs, you usually no more than a sentence or two, so I'll give you that much, okay? So that's what you're going to try to do is you're write a paragraph that's no more than 2 sentences long, okay? I want you to write a 5-paragraph, and actually I should add something here, and that is, you know, not just like about yourself, but basically, and emphasize what is unique about you. And look, I get a lot of people who say like, "There's nothing unique about me. I'm boring." Well, there's something about you. Anything. I mean, and maybe you're just kind of like overthinking the whole thing, right? You know, okay, so you haven't actually like climbed Mount Everest, but at the same time, maybe you've done something to help somebody, in need. Maybe and then I'm not talking about need like Haiti. I'm talking about need like somebody who's like been going through a lot of troubles in their lives or something like that, and you've been there to help them, especially in the last year and a half, right? It could be something along. Actually, I actually one story I'm always interested in is like kinds of things students have to do to like basically keep themselves going to school, like working. How do you that when you take in terms of a unique quality, unique stories, that's always interesting because I always think people have a unique story to tell about how they try to survive in college and how they try to pay, how they have to pay for it, and that sort of thing, and how they often, because of rising tuition costs, have to work and then balance that life with student life, taking courses and the whole thing at the same time. So stuff like that, I think that's actually important, and also important for people to know and learn and also relate to and empathize, okay? So this I'd like you to do by Monday, okay, September 6th, okay? All right, so please make sure that you do that. And I will make sure that I will remind you of that. Okay. All right. So let's see here. Yep. And that's it. Actually, I'll make sure that I'll stay available until the 6th. Okay. Yeah, that. So at 11:59 p.m. Okay. All right, so that's really it, guys. And like I said, I will fix that syllabus. Make sure that you get this all out Wednesday. All right, I get this to you guys on Wednesday, and yes, you do have an ungraded assignment. And then I know it's 11:59. I give you that's Labor Day, whatever. Okay, but anyway, just try to maybe, like I said, this is actually just something you're actually just going to do for yours, write about yourselves. I don't expect this to be like a heavy lift, or to overthink it. So let's just try to work and get that done. But on Tuesday, I'll be teaching actually, essentially our first lesson that deals directly with news writing. Okay. and I will have an assignment that will be graded that'll be due 2 weeks after whatever date that is on actually 2 weeks after Monday. Okay. So, all right. All right, guys. Thanks very much. And I will be talking to you.